Really appreciate their efforts on that. Got an email this morning that said by the time we get started today here at Kiwanis that Betsy Bohannon will have a brand new hip. So, so we're going to send a card around for Betsy. So please, we get it, please pass it and move it along. We'd appreciate that. Also, I don't know if y'all know Ben Spiker's wife, Beth, is actually having a hearing implant installed today too. And I understand that's outpatient surgery in and out, but we're going to send a card for her as well. So let's wish her the best. Also, Kevin Reeder is our new director at Monday's board meeting. So let's give Kevin Reeder an applause. Our invocation today is going to be by Dan Carnes.
Would you please pray with me? Dear Lord, as we gather together around these tables laden with your plentiful gifts to us, we thank you for always providing what we really need, and for sometimes granting wishes for things we don't really need. Today, let us be especially thankful for each other, for family and friends who enrich our lives in wonderful ways, even when they present us with challenges. Let us join together now in peaceful, loving fellowship to celebrate your love for us and our love for each other. Amen.
Thank you, Dan. Our song leader, Judy Clark, I think she's picked out something special for us for President's Day. So we'll go ahead and play that on the screen for you guys.
To honor America and perform our national anthem, please welcome four-time Grammy-nominated country sensation with the voice of an angel, Mickey Guyton.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there, still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Thank you, Judy. Pegram, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, doesn't happen every day, but if you were a guest today, you were greeted by the mayor. So, so Sherman, come on down and introduce guests for us. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And let me give all of you again a Roanoke welcome to this great city. All right, a guest name is Beth Owatka. All right, Beth, and her Mike husband is the person that is the Kiwanis host. All right, welcome to Guy Bird from the Adult Care Center and Ken Biggs is the Kiwanis host. Melissa Woodson from Ram's House. And Melissa's guest is Janine. Janine, can you stand up? Your guest. About to see you. Reverend Preston President Tyler of Hill Street Baptist Church. And he's the guest of Brother Sherman Holland. Chris Rouse from North Cross. All right, Chris. And he's the guest of Leanne Lincoln. All right. Marisa Fontez. All right, welcome. And she is the guest of Dan Carnes. And is there anybody I missed? Welcome y'all. Thank you.
Just want to say that Guy Bird has got an application in, become another, rejoin us again as a member. Would love to have you. And Reverend Tyler, I understand, is going to submit an application. So that's pending on there. And now we're going to hear about the dance marathon from Mike McAvoy.
So thank you, Clark, and fellow Kiwanians, welcome, and our guests, welcome. A couple of items I've got today. Clark was gracious enough to give me a fair amount of time on the agenda. So I've got 2 brag bucks and a couple of different announcements. First, really need your help with Dance Marathon. I think if you're here last week, you know Key Club Lieutenant Governor Olivia from the Botetourt Club. She's running the Dance Marathon for the Key Clubs this year. And that is this Saturday, February 19th. That event is virtual, so it's an online event. I think registration for that might already be closed, but you can check their website, and if you want to, you want to dance on Zoom. But what they really do need is some help with donations. This is the big fundraiser for the Key Clubs, and our division of the Key Clubs has a reputation of really hitting it out of the park. They have in many years exceeded $10,000 on this event, and it goes to the Children's Miracle Network. So really need everybody's help to donate. So on the table, you'll see a handout looks like this. You can actually take it with you because it has a little link there to go to donate. You can donate online. John Montgomery sent out an email from Reeve Kessler earlier in the week, and we'll try to get one more out before Saturday's event. And as Reeve mentioned last week, the Key Clubs do a lot for us. They help us with Pancake Day. We couldn't really do KPAD without that. The kids' West End Christmas Center party, they help with the shopping and the wrapping of those events. I'm not sure where we would have been last year on our Ironman commitment if it hadn't been for the Key Clubs helping out at the aid station. So this is our opportunity to reciprocate a little bit and help them out. So please donate. If for whatever reason you wake up Sunday morning and you realize, hey, I forgot to do it, that's all right. They're taking donations till the end of the month, so you can donate till the 28th. You can do a half price donation after the 19th. So they'll take it. And my brag buck related to this is really for Reef Kessler. Reef's over here. Reef and Ken Briggs, I think you all know, have been kind of the heart and soul of our Key Club service leadership program for many years. And Reef, especially in the last couple of years, has taken a significant role and has helped the Key Clubs with Dance Marathon and getting those coordinated, and really has done a wonderful job. So can we recognize Reef for his efforts? So again, take this home with you. Follow the little link or go to find John's email. My second announcement is related to some events that are on the back. Now, some of you, everybody has one of these. Some of you have one that has this stuff on the back. And the reason if you have one that doesn't is because that's a copier error, operator error running the copier on my part. I'm not sure what happened there, only half printed. But in addition to KPAD, which we'll hear about next week, which is May 5th? No, 7th? What's KPAD? 7th, yeah, May 7th. We have a couple other volunteer opportunities coming up. The closest is the Blue Ridge Marathon, April 16th. I've been talking to the coordinator there. I think we're going to help support an aid station. And so look for an email again from John. That sign up for Blue Ridge Marathon is online. You have to go online, sign up, put your information in. You do get a t-shirt. And I will tell you that if you sign up to be a marshal at the Avenham and 23rd Street location, the house that's next there does a little party and they make great Bloody Marys. So try to get that one if you can, or sign up for our aid station. We're also signed up for the Ironman this year, and the race is June 5th. However, we're going to be helping with registrations on Saturday, June 4th, and there's going to be 2 shifts for that. Same thing, it'll be a link where you have to go in, put your information in. That way they can get your shirt size and then get you a shirt for when that happens. And, no, not on Ironman. They're a little healthier group than the marathon. And then First Fridays has selected us to provide some volunteer labor, and this is always a fun event for us. We're going to be helping support 2 concerts, July 15th and September 2nd. And so look for those later in the summer. Just wanted to get those out there. And that's, in conclusion, that's really my second brag. I want to brag on Mike Obrachta. Mike has stepped up in a number of ways. I think you all know Mike's doing a number of things for the club right now, not the least of which is he's created a calendar with all these dates. So you don't have to necessarily keep this. Well, you need to keep it till Dance Marathon to get the link there. After that, you don't have to worry about these dates because Mike has created a calendar with all these dates that will be available on our news website, which should premiere in another week or 2. And so thanks to Mike for doing that. And I would say if you're not on Mike's calendar, it's not a Kiwanis event. So get to Mike and get on the calendar. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. We have 3 grant presentations today, and I'm going to bring Bob Haberman up to do that.
And thank you, Clark. This is our final, meeting for handing out grants to our nonprofits. Excuse me. But we still have a lot of things going on for grants. We are going to be doing scholarships and the service leadership program. So over the year, we will end up handing out about $125,000 in grants. And it's all because of you, and I thank you all for your hard work. Okay, our first grant for today is the Ram House, and Melissa and Jean, would you both come up here? And Jean, would you tell us a little bit about the Ram House and why you are supporting it? And then Melissa, if you would tell us a little bit about what you're going to do with the money. Thank you.
Remember what I said last week about going behind Bob Haberman? Hi, everyone. I'm Jean Bollendorf, and I sponsored a grant for Ram House. And one of the reasons, well, there are many reasons to sponsor Ram House, but one of the things that really impresses me is their financial aid program. Because not only is Ram House dedicated to helping people in the community with their daily needs as a result of homelessness, meals, clothing, toiletries, and so on, they are in fact trying to help people remain in their homes. So their financial aid program is a great way to do that. And of course, you all are very familiar with the Good Neighbors Fund. And I just think in this day and age, anything we can do to keep people off the streets and in their homes is really, really important. So Melissa is going to step up and tell you a little bit about the grant.
I got to say, Jean and I spend a lot of time eating lunches at Ram House so we can talk about how to raise money. She's been such a mentor to me over the years, and I just thank you for sponsoring us. One of the statistics that I thought to tell you when I got here was how many people who are homeless that we have put into housing since January 1st. And we have put 9 people into housing as of February 11th. That's the last statistic I have, and spent $2,819 to do so. We partner with the Roanoke City Homeless Assistance Team to do that. That's a very important function because as we're hearing a lot these days, we're seeing tent cities going up in the city, and Ram House has taken those tents down one by one. We do everything we can to get people housed. It's difficult sometimes because you have to get people in the right place before you put them in housing or they will lose their housing. So we have a lot of partnerships in the area, and we have a lot of vision about how our day shelter is going to be different in the future, and there will be more coming about that. In 2021, we raised $322,782 that went directly to people in this city and this area to keep them from being homeless. It's a lot of money. 2019, we collected $140,000. And by the grace of God, in 2020, we doubled it to $280,000. Our auditor said it was because of COVID, and yeah, maybe that had something to do with it. But this year, we have collected $260,000 with 7% inflation out there on food. So I'm so pleased. This is a loving, giving community, and I thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for the people that I see every day who need you. Thank you.
And for our second grant today is True. And Reverend Marissa, would you come up, please? And Dan Carnes. And Dan, would you first tell us a little bit about True? And then Reverend, would you tell us a little bit about what you're going to do with the money? Thank you.
True is a ministry of St. John's. It's temporary relief for unexpected emergencies. We have been, I don't know how many years, helping people on Tuesday mornings that have notices where they have to leave if they don't have a certain amount of money. We help people with rent. We help people with utilities. We have certain rules, and of course, we have to enforce those. Since the pandemic, we've been working closely with Ram House. Actually, they're getting the referrals and sending them to us. We do some more screening and give out our money to help people after we've gotten it from them. So that's a little bit about True, and I'll ask Marissa if she'd come and maybe say a little bit about the upcoming year.
I received my gas bill yesterday morning by email, because that's how they send them these days. And when I opened it, it said that it was nearly $300. And for me, and I paid it the month before, I might add, for me, a person with a job and means and the resources to pay, $300 is still a really big gas bill. but I have to heat my home. I have to keep my kids warm. True Temporary Relief for Unexpected Emergencies is an organization that stands in the gap, that works to help people in our community when they receive eviction notices, cutoff notices, when they're at a spot where they're not able to pay. And so all of the administrative costs regarding True are carried by St. John's, and it's the dollars that we collect, the dollars from organizations like Kiwanis and from individuals that allow us to serve and help keep people in their homes, help keep lights on, help keep families together. So thank you very much for your support.
And our final one today, Tara, would you come up and tell us a little bit about Center in the Square and what you plan to do with the grant?
Hi friends, I'm Tara from Center in the Square, and we are so honored to have received support from you all this year for our virtual Get Schooled field trip program. This was our response to being unable to have school kids come to Center in the Square for some period of time. It blossomed into something that we think is pretty awesome. We have videos now that are circulating around the public schools, and for each video that we have, it has this accompanying passport. Ooh, so your money helps us print about 900 of these passports that we give out. If you have eagle eye vision, you can see your Kiwanis logo right here. This one specifically was a collaboration with Mill Mountain Zoo, but this has been a beautiful partnership between Center in the Square and many other nonprofits in the area to teach kids SOL compliant lessons related to science or history, because we were unable to have field trip kiddos for some time. And in the meantime, Blue Ridge PBS caught wind of our program. So now we have a series on television. They've asked us to create 40 videos. It's pretty snazzy for us. We've never done something like this before. So this has opened up a new world of, tourism and amazing opportunities for us. And we thank you for being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for our recipients for being here. Just want to remind our club of our mask mandate when we finish eating. See a lot of people that's not wearing masks. In behalf of our reboot committee, I just wanted to bring that back to your attention, please. Announcements today that we have. KPAD draft is Thursday night. It's going to be hosted at ServPro, and you're all are welcome to come. We're going to have a good time. What happens at ServPro stays at ServPro. So we're just going to leave that there. We're going to have a membership meeting, Zoom on Friday morning. I'm sure Lois James will send that link out for everybody if she hasn't already. And then we're having an environment Zoom meeting on Monday afternoon. And I think Jackie Bledsoe wanted to say some things about the prayer breakfast coming up.
Hello, it's just great to see this room full again. It really is. I'm Jackie Bledsoe, and I'm chairing the Kiwanis Prayer Breakfast this year. For 2 years, we haven't been able to have the prayer breakfast because, obviously, of COVID. But this year, we think we're safe enough to have it. It'll be at the same place at the Kazim Temple on May the 5th, which is National Day of Prayer. And I know when I tell you the time, you're going to go, what? 7 o'clock in the morning to 8:30, but that's the time we've always had it. We can get up early one day of the year. The purpose of the Interfaith Prayer Breakfast is, to bring together people and through communication, learn about different cultures and different faiths. It's what's called interfaith. But we need facilitators for the tables. This year, our theme is healing in a changing world. And if the world ever needed healing, it's now. So we have about 4. We probably will have 12 to 15 tables. So facilitating a table just means that you will lead a conversation relative to the theme. You might ask the question, what would you do or what could you do to help in healing in a changing world? And it's just to keep the discussion going. So if you're interested, and we do have the keynote speaker is going to be Reverend George Anderson of Second Presbyterian. And we do have a few people that are going to offer prayers and will facilitate also. But if you would like to do that and you plan on attending, please let me know. My name's in the roster. Just email me and let me know. Thank you.
Hi, Michael Brockton here. Clark briefly mentioned that the Environment Committee meeting that I chair is having a meeting on Zoom. When did he tell you it was? Very good, very good. And for the rest of you that weren't listening, it's on Monday. This is one of the most active Kiwanis clubs in the world. There are people here who keep statistics on that. And the Environment Committee is one of the most active committees we have in the club. There are 18 people who have knocked off many, many projects over the years. They're still on the committee. There are new members on the committee who have come up with new projects that you have not yet heard about. So come to Monday's meeting. Thank you.
All right. Well, do we have time for brag bucks today? Does anybody want to brag on Super Bowl win? Oh, I got a bragger right here.
President Clark, it was a great game, but I'm not here to brag on what a great game that was. Even I watched all of it, which is pretty amazing. But I did want to brag on some of our Kiwanians, most notably John Ewart sitting over there, Jackie Bledsoe, who just was up here, Don Witt, others on the Kiwanis Nature Park Committee, because they've been helping to grow our nature park by getting seeds out there in the community on windowsills everywhere so that we can have plants to put into our first wildflower pollinator garden. We're having a lot of fun with generating broad-based community engagement in the project, but I couldn't do it alone. And I really appreciate the help of you all giving up a Saturday to come to the library and get these seeds out in the community. Feel free to stop by and get a little baggie of seeds on your way out. And we even have potting mix for you and a pot that you can take home and help be a part of growing the nature park. So I wanted to do that brag, plus another brag, John, you can charge me for, is Joe Gaither is again gonna lead the way in planning a spring festival. Some of you might remember this wonderful heartwarming event that we had at the playground that was relatively newly finished last May. So we're again going to bring the community together to celebrate spring on May 21st. And on that day, plant these plants that you all have been helping us to grow in order to get started with our wildflower garden. So put May 21st on your calendar and give a big thanks to Joe Gaither if you see him for leading the charge on this. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Leanne Lincoln Hoker, and I rarely ever do brags, but in keeping with tradition, I hope to be able to do this every year. I'm going to brag on my son, who last week turned 4. That's not a very big brag, so we're going to double it and round up, and hopefully it'll make a small contribution to the foundation, but hopefully I'll be able to bring him here for a visit sometime soon, maybe over the summer, but he's at a really fun age, made it through the terrible 2s and the crazy 3s, and so hopefully this is the year where we really are able to do some volunteer work and get more involved. So thank you.
Our program today is going to be Rod Bradbury, the Director of Admissions with Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, and I'm going to bring up Lee Learman to introduce him. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see you all and to be here at my first in-person meeting as a relatively new Kiwanian who was laid up in Zoom meetings forever as part of this pandemic. So it's a pleasure to be with you today. Well, I have the great honor and pleasure of introducing my colleague, Ron Bradbury, as today's speaker. Ron's our Director of Admissions at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, and in this role, he manages the complex operations of our admissions program that vets over 6,000 applications, is about 6,500 and something this year, to identify about 300 applicants that get invited to come interview. And we thank those of you who are involved in our interview program. And those 300 are then culled down to 49 who we admit into our class. So it's quite a challenging operation to manage all those applications with such talented applicants and to go through each stage of that process to get our final class matriculated. We're fortunate that Ron brings a wealth of experience and expertise to this role. He grew up in the Tidewater region. He attended Covenant College in Georgia, then Asper University in Kentucky, where he received a bachelor's degree in Bible and Biblical Studies. He went on to study linguistics at the University of Texas at Arlington, where he received a master's degree in 1988. Ron then joined the faculty at Houghton Academy, a private boarding school near Buffalo, New York. He taught high school English. He stayed on at Houghton, for 25 years, serving as director of admissions there for 15 years. And when you're at a place that long, you do other duties as assigned. So one of Ron's other duties, and he can tell you a lot more about this, was getting rid of some rabid raccoons that had been bothering the campus. And I guess there were some squirrels you shot an arrow to as well, Ron. So he was a jack of all trades in addition to his important admissions work there. He moved to our region in April of 2013 to be the campus director of American National University's Salem campus, and then transitioned to join us in the medical school as the assistant director of admissions in 2016, became the director in January of 2019. So working with our associate dean for admissions and our admissions committee each year, Ron successfully takes on this awesome responsibility of identifying our 49 students that we matriculate to Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine with an eye toward not only training them well and sending them forth to fly and to grow and to succeed, but to return as well to our community. Today, he'll be telling us more about how he does this complex task. His talk is titled Securing the Best of the Best, a Decentralized Interview Approach. Please join me in welcoming Ron Bradbury.
I told Michael Brockville when he told me that Dr. Learman was going to introduce me that I usually hold out for introductions by somebody with 3 terminal degrees at a minimum. But since he's a Kiwanian and he's my boss's 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 boss, I figured I'd slide with the 2 terminal degrees. And it is true, I did terminate a number of sick rodents in my life. The rodents now in Western New York fear me. They still know me by name. I was going to say too, I think Mr. Mayor Lee, this is the first time I've heard you speak that I haven't heard you mention how many times Roanoke has won the All-American City Award. So I hope you're not off your game today, sir. It is my privilege to talk. Do we have the PowerPoint? Am I empowered to do that? That's going to make things better for me. All right. So I am the director of admission at the medical school. My contact information's on the website and will be available at the end. And I'm comfortable as you looking up there, looking over here. That's going to be visually more interesting than I am. Go ahead to the next slide. And there's going to be a number of animations along the way, so we're going to have to work this clicking thing out. I'll go back to old school, like the slideshow, boop, when it's time. So that's my title. Next slide, please. So you want to be a doctor. I just give you a scope on the national landscape of what we're dealing with. Go ahead and click again, please. One more time. And one more time. There are 62,000 applicants nationally across the country-ish that are applying, and each one of those does an average of 18 applications. Medical schools are inundated with applications. That math works out to just over 1 million applications that medical schools are processing. I think there's one more click there. Yep. And across the country, 22,000 only get in. So you can see that the odds are not in their favor. Fortunately, it's not like the Hunger Games. If you've read those books, no one's getting eaten or killed along the quest, but it is very competitive even on a national level. Go ahead and click. Locally here at the medical school, we're record high this year with 6,916 applications. That's an increase from last year, and last year was a notable increase of almost, what, 50% from the year before. So lots and lots of people are clamoring to get into medical school. Lots and lots of people are clamoring to be your neighbors here in Roanoke. As Dean Learman said, we have about 50 open seats. So from our little pool, it's less than 1% of the people that start out that are going to end up matriculating to the medical school. So it is a fairly competitive operation. It is not quite as risky or long odds as the lotto, but it's getting close. Okay, next slide. So when we are looking for applicants here in the medical school realm, we are talking in these terms. We talk about such things as hard metrics. You're familiar with that from your academic backgrounds and careers, the grades you get in school and the grades you take on tests, local and standardized and national and whatnot. Those things are fairly well quantified by the American educational establishment. We at Virginia Tech Carilion are also looking along the lines of what we call research or clinical experiences. So anybody who wants to get to medical school, it has to pay their dues and sort of prepare for it by previewing the things they're going to do in medical school before they get there. So they will find a lab to do science in, they will find a hospital to practice clinical skills in, and they do that for a year or years. Some applicants are at the game of applying to medical school for several years before they're successful. We keep an eye on those things. On the bottom now, these are getting, as this list goes down, they're more and more difficult to assess. The next level is the AAMC's core competencies. The American Association of Medical Colleges has identified 15 competencies that they think medical students need when they enter and that they will work on while they're in school and hopefully improve before they graduate. That list is informative to us because we are careful to try to get applicants who line up with that. The nature of graduate medical education is such that you can't start from zero. You have to understand a little bit about science and math and those sorts of things. And the more you know and the more you've done prepared before you get there, the better will be your trajectory through the arduous and very demanding academic coursework. The final thing at the bottom is unique to each medical school, and each medical school finds their way into these things, but mission driven. So those are the medical school parlance. That's what our mission of the medical school is. I'll show you some words from our website in just a minute about that. Go ahead and click, please. On the HR, and Michael Proctor was careful to challenge me to make this relevant to you and to the local business community. And so I think this has a very easy transference into the realm of human resources, in particular hiring. So if you look on the right side, you'll see required qualifications. These are things that you might have on a job posting that are the absolute minimum, whatever they are in your industry. Preferred qualifications. Once a person has met the required, then they have other things that would be advantageous for them in your business and in your enterprise. Further down, you have the soft skills. I don't know if you remember the book, All You Needed to Learn You Knew in Kindergarten. That book basically talked about being a nice person. And then at the very bottom, parallel to our mission driven might be your company values. What sorts of things are there in your particular company that you know that you want among your employees? And as you can imagine, those things likewise on the right as on the left are more difficult to assess as you go down. So go ahead, one more click. And this is what we're going to talk about today. These core competencies for us and these mission driven, and then the parallel on your side, if you're in business or industry, how you might find those, how you might approach assessing those from your pool of candidates. If you'll click again, please. All right, let's go one more. So these are two, let's go one more. These are two of the 15, and I just give them for you as an example for your perusal. Service orientation, and I won't read them all. I think it's large enough to see, even though it's a bit further away. Demonstrates desire to help others, sensitivity to others' needs. And then down below that, cultural competence. The AAMC has 15 of these, some of which relate to math and science, but many of which are more along the lines of the soft skills, the qualities, the characters of a human soul, as opposed to their intellectual or mental agility. All right, if you go to the next page. These are some random words I picked off of Virginia Tech Carillion's website. Innovators, research, world-class clinical care, thought leaders, transform, excellence, health systems, discovery. And there's a lot more. These are just excerpts, obviously, and the mission statements that we have on our website are much more clearly defined and much more explicitly stated. But these are the things that we are looking for in our applicant pool. And so the process that we have derived began with the medical school. The founding dean, Dr. Cinda Johnson, went out on a bit of a professional limb, if you will, and embraced a process called the multiple mini interview. This is a process that stood on the very much opposed or in contrast to the traditional method of getting into medical school. Traditionally, and I'm sure Dr. Learman would have a story, or the rest of you who are physicians, an applicant would stand before a committee of decision makers and answer their questions in the formal medical school interview. It was a one-off sort of moment, and a make or break it deal with the very important people who were going to give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down and send you to the lions. Dr. Johnson embraced, and Dean Learman has allowed us to continue the multiple mini interview. And it's a situation, it's a scenario where an applicant is interviewed by many different people around a scenario, as opposed to their understanding of medicine or their reasons for wanting to be a doctor. Go ahead and click, please. And so I'm going to give you an example, and this is actually populated with Latin. So if you don't read Latin, that's to your deficit. And actually, it's called lorem ipsum. It's a standard, if you don't know the printing industry, it's a standard text just to fill space. But I populated it with the words from our mission statement as an illustration. So what we do to get these applicants through their medical school interview is, in the admissions office, we create a number of scenarios. They're brief paragraphs, a few sentences usually, that describe a scenario, a situation, a circumstance, a set of events. And we build those around the AAMC's core competencies and around our mission statement. So we look for the things that we value, and we put those into this statement, and we ask the applicant then to read it for 2 minutes, and then they will discuss it for 7 minutes. So if you go ahead and click one more time, this has got several different things on the page again. All right, so read for 2 minutes and discuss for 7 minutes. All right, so the medical school applicants come to town before COVID. We've done this virtually now for the last 2 years. And they will, in the virtual version, have 3 different scenarios that they read through. Read for 2 minutes, talk for 7 minutes. And if you want a real life example, I was thinking about this. Some of you will be familiar with the story from the Old Testament of Solomon, who was confronted with 2 women and 1 baby. 2 women birthed babies days apart. One was died overnight. They both claimed the baby. That story may ring some bells. And Solomon's solution was, let's cut the baby in half and you can each have half, at which the mother objected and the other lady was vindictive and happy. And so then Solomon had his answer. That's the kind of quandary that we put to these medical students, whether it's around ethics or service orientation or whatever it is. We want to hear them engage this so that we can gain insight into who they are. We know they're very, very smart. We know they've done a lot of science. We know that they are academically prepared for medical school based on their records, which we've been through. But we want to know what kind of souls they have, because a medical school delivers our curriculum in a very different way than a lot of medical schools. So go ahead and click again. So we have this year in the Zoom format, we have 3 volunteer interviewers. And I should say, among this group in the room present and among Kiwanians who are not all present, at least physically, there are a number of volunteers. If you do this for me, would you raise your hand? Okay, so there's a handful of people you see that are helping out already, okay? And it's an easy gig, and there might be a little catch at the end where you can jump on board if you want to. But it's been a very positive part of the medical school's trajectory, from obscure and new to world-renowned. But these 3 interviewers, go ahead and click again, evaluate their response through a rubric. So we craft that scenario based on our mission and values and the AAMC's core competencies. And then we build a rubric that helps us identify the kinds of answers we're going to hear. Now, obviously, when you're dealing with people and they all bring their own experience, you don't get the exact answer that you're looking for or that you might imagine, but we define things. So for example, we say, well, if in this particular scenario, a very bad answer would say things like this. A very good answer, an outstanding answer would say things like this. And then we have in the middle. So our scenario volunteers are encouraged to read the rubric, understand the kinds of answers and how the answers might line up with the rubric. They listen to the volunteer. When we do the scenario on Zoom, one person leads the discussion with the applicant and two people are listening, passively scoring, and then they rotate through. So everybody leads one scenario and listens to two. And at the end, we have then generated 9 scores for the applicant. And this is a significant part of the data set that we use to evaluate applicants for admission to medical school. Go ahead and click one more time, or twice, I think maybe. So through this all, as you see there, we get the interview data that we need to help inform the decision for medical school. All right, let's go one more time. Thank you. All right, so I went to the website. Joyce Waugh isn't here, but I went to the Roanoke Regional Chamber website, and I just browsed through. Almost every company has a website with a value statement or about us. So here are some of the local, just go ahead and click for me. There are some, I think maybe 6 on this page, 5 or 6. So let's get them all up there. Thank you. So these are some of the words from the local business community. Now, I didn't do the next step for you, but let's say you're trying to hire somebody. You want to get somebody into your company, whether it's a low-level position or a high-level position, you probably like them to line up with your values. So what I suggest as an option or a parallel would be craft your scenarios and get many people to interview from your company, each person, give them the same kind of time frame, 2 minutes to read, 7 minutes to discuss, and just listen to their answers. It won't tell you if they can actually do what you want them to do or need them to do, but it might tell you what kind of soul they are as they go through that process and as they come on board with your company. So that's an example just from the local website, and I would think each of you in your industries, past or present, would have some ideas on how this might work out in your situation. Go ahead and click for me. So the advantages of our interview process, and as you might imagine in academic education and graduate medical, this has now been studied. So Dr. Johnson started this out, and I think at the time there was a New York Times article the first year of the medical school. I think there were 9 medical schools across the country doing this. Now that number, last time I looked, was up over 40 into the low 50s. It's high 40s, low 50s, because the process is proving, and as you might imagine in graduate medical education, is being carefully studied. And in fact, it is finding out that it has many advantages over the traditional model. So it's gaining traction across a national landscape, and it continues to grow because of the validity that it's producing in terms of finding the kind of people who are going to be successful in their trajectories through medical school. There was a AAMC conference I attended a few years ago, and the comment was made that more medical students are running into significant difficulties based on professionalism issues than on academic issues. So really smart, but not making the best decisions on a day-to-day basis. And this is helping us identify those who are positioned to make good decisions. So some of the advantages, to go ahead and click, multiple voices informing the decision. So instead of a hiring manager or a single person, you have a number of people who are listening. And if you saw the folks who raised your hand, they come from a bunch of different industries. And we have about 80 active volunteers in our pool from the Roanoke business community. And every imaginable industry, older, younger, our pool tends to be a little bit older, I think, because typically in person, we're on a Saturday, and not every young family member would have a Saturday free to join us. But we do have a range, and we're looking to expand that range. Just pretty much anybody who knows people. You don't have to know anything about medicine. There's no scientific knowledge, but it is very helpful if you haven't been a reclusive hermit your whole life. But as long as you know people, you're welcome to join us. So multiple voices are making a decision, and along the way, that is mitigating biases. So we all have things that we believe to be true based on who we are and our life experience. You get a bunch of different people making the decision, and the likelihood of everybody having the same bias is diminished. And so we're finding very good results in terms of the sort of academic or the analytical side of this process. Go ahead and click. Lower stakes per engagement for the applicant. You can imagine your knees shaking if you've been working on getting into medical school for 3 years or 4 years. You spent thousands of dollars and hundreds or thousands of hours preparing for medical school, and you walk up to the dean of the medical school and he's very intimidating, masked or unmasked, and he's asking you questions, and you know he's a very powerful person, and it's a very intimidating moment. Our scenario-based interview process is much less intimidating, tends to be a whole lot more approachable from the applicant standpoint, and it allows them to make a mistake in a moment that doesn't tank them. If they make the mistake in the big moment, they're much less likely to get into medical school. But with 3 different scenarios across the landscape, they're lower stakes for them. When we were in person, and we don't know how that will play out next year in person or virtual, it was 10 different interviews that they would do with an individual. And so there was a much lower, it's even more dissipated. One more click, I think. Another value or advantage of our process is it's highly adaptable to specific values. So you can tailor it for exactly what you want. So the interview scenarios that we use might not find any traction at UNC or Duke or Hopkins or Texas or anything like that, because every medical school has their own esprit de corps, their own sort of vibe. And the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine has a reputation for being a very collaborative educational environment. So some medical schools are competitive and climbing the ladder sort of. We are not that way. We deliver our education through collaboration, through group instruction, small group instruction, applicant or students teaching other students. And the first 2 years are intensively collaborative, if you will. So we can craft scenarios that help us identify people who are likely going to fit into that and feel comfortable here and like what we do. Go ahead and click again. It's also more difficult to practice for. If you're in HR, you know the applicant who will answer the question, what is your greatest weakness? And that my greatest weakness is I'm so kind. I give all my money to orphans, so I never have money for bus fare. They've known that question is coming, they've practiced it, and they roll it out in such a way. The MMI scenarios are much more difficult to practice for because they might know what the concept is, a discussion, but they have no idea what's coming. And we change the scenarios often to keep them fresh and to prevent them from being transmitted over time through the ether. Okay, I think I have 1 or 2 more slides. Okay, volunteers are crucial for our process. Go ahead. If you would like to volunteer, one of the advantages you will be able to enjoy is having an authentic impact on identifying future physicians. I won't give you the boring details, but the MMI scores that applicants get are very, very impactful in the decision that the admissions committee makes on who gets offers and who doesn't. Next point. You can influence tomorrow's local and medical community. Don't like your doctor? Want to get a new one? Help us select them, and in 4 or 5 years from now, 6 or 7 years from now, they may well be your physician practicing here. A lot of, as Dr. Learman has, I think, presented to you, doctors that we have trained earlier are coming back to the local community. It's a vibrant place. It's a place that people like to live. And so we're seeding that process in the admissions office. Showcase Roanoke, the people in the business community. Outside Roanoke, not everybody knows about Roanoke. We get applicants from across the country. California is tied with Virginia for first or second in terms of total volume of applications on an annual basis. The average person in Southern California may have heard about Roanoke, but most likely not. And so they get an interview and they want to come, but they don't know anything about the city. This process helps us engage and helps them showcase Roanoke and why they want to come here. And it's a very, very impactful modality for doing that. Go ahead. So in my last slide here, it basically shows that synergy that I've described for you. We have the Roanoke Valley and the volunteers from the local community. We have the applicants to medical school from all across the country. And then we have the medical school. And I describe this process often as a win-win-win. We in the admissions office through this process get the kind of information we need to help inform the admissions committee on who's going to be good physicians or good students in our school. From the applicant side, they come away with a much deeper understanding, a profound understanding of the community they're going to serve, the nature of the community engagement. And we are right now, I think, the only medical school in the country that uses community volunteers. Other medical schools use volunteers. That is, they don't pay their faculty for doing it, but they're not doing it as a basis of the community. And then you in the Roanoke Valley get a chance to invite people to understand the medical school, to understand that piece of it, as well as to help select your neighbors and the future students that are going to be shopping with you in Kroger when you go down there to Tanglewood or to get your groceries or Towers, I guess. So that's my presentation. That's the medical school process, MMI multiple mini interview. And if you would like to learn more, I'll be around for a little while, or you're welcome to send me an email. We can talk further. Have questions? Okay. I will do that. That's a good thing Nadine is here. I don't know the answer to that. I really focus on admissions. We're wrapping up the last cycle. The question was, what is the basic retention rate of the medical school? I know it's very high. Do you know, Dean Lehman? Over 95% of the applicants who come to our school finish. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to defer to the man who knows the answer.
Yes. So we used to think it was primary care physicians, absolutely, but now workforce projections are showing that specialty and primary care physicians are all going to be in demand in the future. There are some population trends of OB and pediatrics going down, but almost everything else is going up, and nurses for sure. I mean, there's a whole new workforce challenge facing us due to the pandemic and early retirements, people now willing to travel to work rather than staying where they live. So it's a brand new ballgame in terms of the workforce in general, but now particularly coming out of the pandemic.
So for those on you for Zoom and Jeopardy, the question was, what's the greatest need in the medical field? Yes, sir. Mhm. We have the questions about the process or the logistics on the MMI. We have 6 MMI weekends annually, 6 MMIs that we do. And we we are able to interview through our plan 48 per weekend. So we interview just around 300 annually. Yep. There is so the question is, how are we going to mitigate the deficits of virtual, and what are we doing to, what do we see the future holding? So before the pandemic, we initiated from the admissions office a weekend visit to Roanoke called Second Look. So they would come, the applicants to medical school would come to the MMI weekend for their first look at Roanoke. And then if they got an offer of admission, they would come back for the second look. And the first COVID year killed the second look pretty much. We did it virtually. It really kind of paled against what the experience we were hoping for. We did the best we could, as everybody was, right? We have 2 second looks planned this year. The first one was in January, about the time that the first variant came along. And so we were not able to do that one in person, but we have another second look, which will really be a first look. So we're kind of conflicted about the name, but same effect, where the applicants holding offers are invited to come back to Roanoke, because really to understand the medical school and their classmates and you know, the hospital system and everything, it's so hard to do that without being in person. So that's what we're doing. The future is first virtual or digital or in person yet remains to be seen. It looks like we're all, I heard the stand-up moment here has happened. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm sure Ron will stay after a few minutes too, if you guys have more questions that can come over. Thank you for being here. My daughter's actually going to try to go down this path, so I can't wait to show her the slideshow when I get home. You have a speaker honorarium, and it's to the Appalachian Trail. So here you go. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And next week is K-Pad kickoff. Woo! So y'all come back for that. It's going to be exciting. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.